Yo guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Chelsea Explained, as this is your match preview ahead of Chelsea and Leicester City, and we have built up a small tiny momentum by beating Southampton is at rock bottom in the league and against Danish side Copenhagen in Conference League. Now these are opposition we should win against easily. I mean, just look at Southampton's season. I mean, yeah, they are pretty much finished. So we can all expect us that we were going to beat them. Same goes with Copenhagen. Now we're facing Leicester City, who are almost rock bottom. They are a relegation side. They are in a heavily poor form. They have only scored one goal in the recent 5 games in all competition, and they have lost all of them. We can expect Ruud van Nistelrooy's side to sit back, be compact, and hit us on route 1 or counter-attacking football on some occasions. But this should be a game we should definitely win. But there's one thing I want to focus heavily in this video, which I think we're struggling with, and that is in terms of breaking down teams that are sitting back playing in a low block, because I expect Leicester City to do that, because if they're not doing that, they're gonna get dismantled out there. Now a lot of teams has decided to go with a deep shape, reducing the spaces, making it very compact, defending narrowly, forcing us out wide. We're struggling to create chances and score opportunities when we're facing those type of teams that decide to play in that way. Now, when we finally manage to create those big chances, we often fumble them as well. So being clinical is definitely not our biggest strength. At the beginning of the half season, we were a bit more versatile. We could dominate possession, we could hit opponents on counterattacks, we could be more direct. But at the same time, more teams has found a way to sort of counter us. They have figured out that we are not that sharp in the final third when the spaces is limited. Opposition team also have more respect for us, because we were in a very good form before Christmas, and they know that if they leave spaces open and allow us to have space to counter on, they will likely get punished. So therefore I believe teams have found a way how they're gonna play against us, and low block seems to be working. I've been thinking about how we can make our attack more efficient, better, and hopefully it should enable us to break down these low blocks and parking the bus teams. Now, Maresca likes us to be patient in possession. I got no problem with it, but is in some games we're going to the absolute extreme, where we're continuously passing backwards, sideways, and we're being too cautious. We also have to take risk being direct, and has to force our way through in that aspect. The one thing I like with us being patient and playing backward passes is that the opposition that's sitting in the low block can become impatient, and therefore they could leave the shape, press us urgently, and that's gonna allow us to maybe play through their press and find our advanced players in open space like Cole Palmer, Nkunku, etc. And then we can punish the opposition. However, if the opposition, decides to be very disciplined, not leaving their shape whatsoever, unless they're winning back the ball, or we making a mistake that they can capitalize on by countering us, and they defending really narrowly, we have to stretch the opposition defense by playing with more width. Wingers need to hug the touchline. We might have to switch the ball side to side from one flank to the other to move the low block left and right, and therefore it could open up space in half spaces behind the backline and in small pockets. If we're finding our wide wingers in really good position, and the opposition feel like, you know what, we have to do something about this. We have to stop the wide wingers receiving the ball continuously. It obviously gonna make the low block not be so narrow anymore, and therefore there will be more space open. We could also use, you know, one of our wide center backs, let's say Reece James, let's say he's playing as a makeshift back three. Instead of him being static, we can make the opposition be a bit afraid and confused by having Reece James joining the attack, by either making an overlap, underlap, making a late man run, and that could really cause confusion for the opposition, because he's suddenly a wide center back that's adding another body in the attack that they have to be aware of. Sometimes our wingers can be too isolated, and if they are too isolated and we just continue to spamming crosses without any address, without finding a target man up front, which we don't have in the team, our attack is just gonna stagnate and we're not gonna be that threatful whatsoever. So also, when we're finding our wide wingers, as I said, they're gonna need help. They're gonna need like players making runs in the half spaces, or the so-called Manchester City assist zones, which is literally in half spaces just behind the opposition backline, where they make cutback passes, low-driven crosses, and Haaland is there to poach the ball in. That is something I would like to see, instead of us continuously spamming crosses that barely leads to anything. Now, if we're finding our central players in good position, let's say we're finding our half space players in Palmer, Enzo, or maybe Nkunku that's a drift inside, leaving his marker, or Neto up front, we're gonna need to decide what we do then. Like, if we're having a false 9 up front, he can drop down, and then it causes a dilemma for the opposition defender. Should he follow him, or should he stay in his position, but he's gonna allow the Neto to have more time on the ball, and we can therefore have a numerical advantage against the opposition midfielders. So that is something we can do. If the defender follows Neto, we can play through balls in behind on Palmer, Enzo, and Nkunku, but they're gonna have to make runs and not be static, because, you know, we have too many players being static, not moving behind the backline. It's only like Neto doing that. We need more of that. Otherwise, we're just gonna be too predictable, and we don't have enough players to penetrate the opposition backline. We usually have Jackson, Madueke really good at that, but they both out injured. Now, I would likely prefer having actually Cole Palmer as a false 9, and then having Neto and Nkunku making runs in behind, because I think that would make our front attacking players being more fluid, and would actually benefit us a lot more, and I think we will see much more success. Now, if we're deciding to have a striker up front that's gonna run in behind like Neto, then we're gonna have players that has technical precision, and we have that in Palmer, Enzo Fernandez, Sancho, Colwill as well. We have that in abundance. It's just that it's really difficult to play through ball sometimes against teams that sits really deep. The space is minimal, is reduced heavily, and therefore the pass and the timing of the one making the run has to be perfect. And when the runner receives the pass, they have to make a perfect first touch, and then finish it past the goalkeeper immediately. You will have limited time. So either, you know, we're attacking the Manchester City half spaces through the flanks, where it can find players in the half spaces that can take long shots or make through balls on Neto behind the backline, or the wingers out wide. Enzo Fernandez and Palmer can do that. They have that technical precision. Or you're having a false 9 dropping down helping us being numerical advantage or having the opposition defender following him, and therefore we can make a little pass behind that space that has opened where the opposition defender left. So we also have to have a defined way of attacking. Like as I mentioned, I don't want us to spam crosses constantly into the box. I prefer us having a shot from distance, making low driven crosses, cut back passes, have quick combination, and then make a little through ball in either the Manchester City assist zone, as I mentioned, or in central areas. There are my explanation on how I could see us breaking down low blocks. It's easier to talk. You have to do it out there on the pitch. You have to build that understanding and chemistry, and it's up to Maresca to figure that out and players to execute those instructions. So let me know how you think we could break down low blocks. Do you have any ideas I might have missed out on? Now, in terms of my lineup, or what I assume Maresca would do, Jorgensen, I think he's going to continue in goal. In the backline, we're going to see Reece James, Tosin Colwill, and Cucurella. We're going to have Caicedo, Enzo in midfield, and our front four will be Sancho, Palmer, Nkunku, and Neto up front. What I really like with this is that Cucurella can be so flexible here. He can join the pivot, he can make overlapping runs inside the box, he can join the half spaces, he can interchange position with Enzo Fernandez, and he can drop down in the pivot. If Leicester only has one attacker up front, there's no need for us having a makeshift back three the whole game. We can have Reece James stepping up in the midfield from time to time, joining attack as well, adding another body in the final third that Leicester has to mark and worry about. Neto has done a pretty good job up front. Southampton left tons of spaces when we scored the first goal, and that allowed us to play those through balls. But if we're not scoring the opener, if Leicester is really compact, I would like Maresca to make some tweaks and maybe have Palmer up front, dropping down, being that creative false nine, and then Neto and Nkunku making runs in behind instead. I think that will suit our attack much more, but that's just my opinion. I would also love to see Tarek George getting some minutes off the bench. I think he's been so positive lately, making assists, he's pacey, technical. Yeah, I have a really positive feeling around Tarek George. I hope he will receive more minutes. In terms of my score prediction, I'm gonna predict we win 3-0. We have to keep a clean sheet against Leicester. They are toothless in their attack. They're leaking goals left, right, and center. We should never underestimate opponents, but we should be clear favorites here and pick up 3 points. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're brand new here, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my page, hit that notification bell so you never miss when the content drops. Chelsea Explains out. Bye. If you're